What are the stories you tell yourself? Are they beneficial or not? Are you even aware of them? Whether you're aware of the stories you tell yourself or not, they are running the show. They become your beliefs and then form your character. So it is important to be aware of them and how they impact you and your family. Today I'm talking about how stories come to be in our psyche. I'll let you in on some of my stories to use as examples. I'll show you 4 steps to change your stories if they're not beneficial for you. And stay to the end for some additional support, additional to those 4 steps. And as always, how I relate it to you and your family. So lots of value. Let's get to it. Welcome back to these teaching videos here on A Spiritual Life, where I teach you, the parent, mindfulness tools so you can then teach them to your partner and kids to live more consciously and connected as a family. If you're new here, my name's Carrie. I'm a mindfulness teacher, a home educator and mum of 2 on a non-religious spiritual path. You're very welcome. So today's topic is about the stories we tell ourselves. And I'm going to start with this quote from Frank Jackson. And it goes like this. What's your thoughts, they become your words. What's your words, they become your actions. What's your actions, they become your habits. What's your habits, they become your character. What's your character, it becomes your destiny. So that's quite pivotal, that. I mean, I was searching for that quote or something similar. I thought it was Dr. Joe Dispenza that said it. That's the first time I heard of anything like this. But basically, right from your thoughts and everything becomes your character and how you see the world. So whether you're aware of stories and what you're telling yourself or not, that's what's playing in the background. So the moment we can be aware of them and bring them to the forefront, if it's something you need to change. So if those things, the words you say, the actions you take in life, the habits you've got or haven't got that you want to have, the character you're becoming and your destiny, like how you live in your life, basically, which is what we're all about here on this channel. If that isn't going how you want, we need to start looking right back to the thoughts and the stories that we're telling ourselves. So what are the stories? So like that quote said, they're thoughts and experiences that turn into our beliefs, and then we live our lives to those beliefs, whether they're good or bad. They form our character, like the quote said, and our destiny. So whatever, it's based on our thoughts and our experiences that forms this belief and a memory, and then we base our life around that. So that can be a good thing or a bad thing, can it? Because you can be telling yourself good, healthy stories that get you into a good habit and form a great character, or it can be the opposite. You can be saying words that are not helpful to you or those around you, getting you into bad actions, bad habits, and becoming this bad character. So that's the problem. That's where this lies. And mindfulness helps us to delve into this a little bit more and start changing it if we need to. And we'll talk about it at the end, how this is beneficial to your family as well as you. So we've done the what. So why is survival? Why is it we have stories? It's for survival and how we learn. So stories are there based on our experiences to keep us safe. So if you've touched a hot stove in the past as a kid, you will remember that experience and you'll create a story in your head that says, don't do that again. That was a bad move, you know? And likewise, if you've done something good, you will try and create that experience again because it was a good thing. So do you see the difference? It's not all negative. It's not to say we shouldn't have stories, but that's how they're formed. They're formed mostly because of our survival instinct and our need to keep safe. but it's also how we learn. So if we go back to tribal and, indigenous people and indigenous tribes and all around the campfire and all that, that's how we learned, through storytelling. And it's making this, it's like a big trend now, isn't it? Within business, within socials, is to have stories. I'm going to tell you some stories to relate to this topic about stories. It's how we learn. And it's making a big comeback now, but it's the way we always learned, through stories from our elders, the wise ones, passed down to us. So it is quite key, is the stories we hear and the stories we also tell ourselves inside. So I'm going to talk now about my examples. I'm going to give you 3, and I'm just going to introduce them and leave them there. And then I'm going to go through these 4 steps that you can change them, and then we'll come back to them at the end and see how we use the steps to work with each one of them. So, a lot of things we tell ourselves nowadays is based on what happened as a kid, right? That's why when we do any of this work, it's always, we end up going back to our childhood and our inner child and all this work. So for me, I was always sort of told or led to believe, maybe I made it up, but that I was a slow reader. So for me, reading scripts like this, it's a big deal. It's something I'm overcoming, this story I'm telling in my head. But yeah, I was classed as a slow reader. It's something I took on as a belief, and even to this day, I still think I am. What I do isn't good enough. So this is again another one I'm really working on right now, and even saying it now feels alien. It doesn't have the hold on it used to. But again, what I do is not good enough was a story I kept telling myself, and it wasn't very beneficial when it came to any form of job, work, anything I was putting out there in the world, any creative venture. And here's an emotional one. So actually, we're coming up to the anniversary of this in about 2 weeks' time. So it's my birthday in about 2 weeks' time. And on my birthday, 10 years ago, my mum died. Suddenly out the blue. And I used to tell strangers that, if it was relevant, not just something, but like I used to say it. I didn't just used to say, oh, my mum died 5 years ago. I used to say, my mum died 5 years ago on my birthday. So I'm going to come back to that story in a minute and delve into it a bit more. So let's move on to how to change them. So let's go back to the slow reader. So you are aware that thought, that's the first step, awareness. So number 1 is awareness. You're aware you're telling yourself a story, okay? Number 2, is it helpful or not? So I'm a slow reader. Is that helpful? Not really, because it's not helping me be better at that. It's not helping me be a better reader by having that story, that belief that I'm now creating and living my life around. So anytime someone asks me to read something, I kind of freeze up. So is it helpful or not to have that? The answer to number 2, no. Number 3, choose to continue with them or not. So this is where you make that choice, because you might have a story that is actually useful and you might have a story that's not. So if it's useful, you don't have to do anything, right? Carry on having that story. But when the work is when you choose not to. So number 3 is choose to continue with that story or not. I'm a slow reader. Is that helpful? Do I want to continue with it? No. Number 4, so every time this comes up, every time you have that thought, so every time I'm faced with having to read in front of people where I might get nervous and contract and all that, use a statement to say something along the lines of, I'm not believing this anymore. And it distances you from the emotions around it. It brings it back into focus that it is just a thought. Like, it takes you out of it, all those stages in that quote. It takes you out, right? You're not my character. You're not my habits. You're not my words. You're not my thoughts. Okay, it's just a story. So it's almost like, you take a step. I'm not believing this anymore because I don't have to, because it's not me. Okay, do you see where I'm going with that? Or say something like, this isn't true. Yeah? I would leave it like that. So use a statement to say, I'm not believing this anymore, or this isn't true. Something like that, a very clear factual state. You can, if you want to, replace it with another statement. But sometimes it's just enough to let go of the story altogether. So if you want to replace it with, I am a good reader or a fast reader, are you really going to believe it if you just turn it around? Having said that, this extra thing I've got for you, this extra thing after these 4 points, does actually do that. So I'll leave you to have discernment on that and see if it works. But yeah, I personally would put a statement to say, I'm not believing this anymore. Okay, so that's what we do with the I'm a slow reader. What do we do with what I do is not good enough? Let's go through it again. So you have an awareness. So I had an awareness, what I do is not good enough. More mindful you become, the more you think, work makes me feel contracted. Why is that? Or I don't think I'm good enough. Why not? It's either the words you say, or the way you act, or the habits, back to that quote, that tell you the story that you're saying, and that's how you become aware of it. So what I do is not good enough. I'm aware I'm telling myself that story. Are they helpful or not? No, because again, I can't improve if I'm telling myself that story all the time and I'm believing it and I'm acting on it and I'm having habits. It becomes my character. You see where we're going? Choose to continue with them or not. So, do I continue with what I do is not good enough? No. Number 4, every time it comes up, use a statement. So I'm choosing, you could put that word in, I'm choosing to not believe this anymore. Or this isn't true. You could tell yourself, what I do is good enough, if you wanted to do that. Because basically what you're doing here, it's a form of hypnotherapy, because you've hypnotized yourself in your subconscious by believing that so much, going over it so much, acting on it, having a habit, having a belief. You've told yourself it so many times that it's hardwired in your neural network that you're believing it to be true. It's a form of hypnotherapy. So yes, actually you could then rewire it by saying the opposite. And at first you probably won't believe it. That's what I was saying. You're probably not going to believe it at first. But the more and more you say it, the more you will believe it, because that's the new story. And something you could do, yes, you could go and have a hypnotherapy session, but we've got so much tech, let's use it. So you've got little voice notes on your phone. You could make yourself a 5-minute recording and listen to that every night before bed and say the story that you want to put in, on 3 things. If you can think of 3 things, list it, put it into a voice note, and off you go. So that is what I do is not good enough, how I use that example. And then this mum dying on my birthday and saying it to strangers. So the awareness around this was very poignant right at the beginning, because I noticed I was doing it. And it was weird because it was almost like I'm saying, well, why am I saying this? Why am I telling everyone that she died on my birthday? Because it was almost, at first thought, it was because I wanted sympathy. That's what you'd think, right? But when that sympathy came, I would cut people off mid-sentence and just carry on. So it's like, well, I'm not doing it for sympathy. It is a matter of fact that's what happened. But do they need to know that part? So why say it at all? So I learned to stop saying it. So I became aware of it. Are they helpful or not? Well, it's not helpful because I didn't want to say it because I was playing the victim, obviously. That's not why I was doing it. So there was no reason to it. So was it helpful or not? No. Do I choose to continue with that or not? No, I choose not to continue with saying that. So I used to cut it short. So I didn't change the number 4. I didn't change it. Every time it comes up, choose a statement. I didn't change it to a different statement. I just stopped there. My mum died. I didn't continue it with on my birthday. So it's how you want to change it up. But there's 3 examples of stories that I've told myself to date that I am working on or have worked on. Okay. So this little extra thing, that sort of contradicts what I said about turning it round and changing it. Have you ever come across Byron Katie? It's the other way around. Byron Katie. She is doing something called The Work. She's been going for a long time. Her story is quite big and profound. Go and check her out. I won't go into it now. But Byron Katie's The Work is, again, 4 questions that you can ask yourself. So in addition to those 4 steps I gave you, which were, let me go back, awareness, are they helpful or not? Choose to continue with them or not. And every time it comes up, use a different statement. So they were my suggestions. But she goes on with things around thoughts to say, is it true? Can I absolutely know it's true? So let's go back to the book one. I'm a slow reader. So is it true? I'm a slow reader. Well, who says? I guess you could even question that right from number 1. It depends who is saying it. Maybe. You might come across, yes, it's absolutely true. So you could answer that to number 1. And then number 2, can you absolutely know it's true? And what she's doing here is really trying to get where it's a story you're telling yourself or whether it is actually true. And it doesn't matter either way. So you can answer yes or no to these. So is it true? Can I absolutely know it's true? Number 3, how do you react? What happens when you believe that thought? How do you react and what happens when you believe that thought? It's number 3. So if you say you're a slow reader, how do you react? Well, I don't feel good about myself. So that contributes to the other story. What I do is not good enough, doesn't it? You can see how they spiral. So, and what happens when you believe that thought? So you believe you're not good enough. Number 4, who would you be without that thought? And I found that one really pivotal. Who would you be without that thought? Who would you be without the thought of what I do is not good enough? And I'm slowly feeling that, and it feels expansive. It feels freeing. It doesn't feel tied down. It doesn't feel judged. You know, I feel okay to be me when I don't believe the thought, what I do is not good enough. So there are her 4 questions. What she then does is do what's called a turnaround. And so she puts the example into a turnaround. You've got to change the phrase around, completely the opposite. It's worth going into that in a bit more depth. I'm not going to do that here, but that was just to give you an idea because it's on the same sort of lines as this video and my 4 points. So go and try that. I have done that. If you've got a real sticking point belief, and it can be about someone else as well. The example she gives on the sheets are about her husband. I can't remember what he lied to me. Paul lied to me. That's the example she gives. So you turn that around at the end and Paul told the truth. Paul didn't lie to me, you know. So go and check that out. So that's Byron Katie, The Work. And get the worksheets. It's all free online. And if you've got one particular person you're struggling with or situation in your life, that's definitely a good one. But also don't forget those 4 that I just talked about today, for turning your stories around, which are having an awareness. Are they helpful or not? Are you choosing to continue with them or not? And every time it comes up, say a different statement. All right, so before we get into relating this to family life, I ask if it's been beneficial to you for this video to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, much appreciated. Let's move on then to relate to family life. 2 things, your stories and their stories. So your stories, whatever your stories are, your family will notice them as they become your beliefs, values, character. So be mindful of all of this if it's not what you want to pass down or show to your kids. So this is where the mindfulness comes in. Are you the person you want to be? Is that who you want to show your kids? How you handle your beliefs and thoughts and habits, is that what you want to pass down to your kids? Because remember what I say in my tagline with mindfulness, it's about teaching them but mirroring them. They often work off energy and what they see and how we are around them, and they copy that. So that's why you might want to change these. So I'll give you another example here that I saw with my mum, and it was about not trusting friends. So me and my brother had different dads, and this guy before my dad ended up going off with her best friend. And I didn't find that out until I was a bit older, but I did actually notice, without having these conversations, but I did notice she didn't have many friends. She was quite close to her sister-in-law, and that was it, really. She did very solitude activities like bingo and things like that. So she didn't really have many friends. Maybe some of, once I came on the scene with my dad, and my dad had friends and their wives, they would go out like that, but she never had anyone that was close. So I didn't take that on, but it did become part of her. It became part of her character, this distrust, and this, I can't trust anyone to get close to them as a friend anymore because of the hurt that happened so many years ago. And you can see how it forms your character, yeah? So that's just a real clear example of how it can affect family life. So their stories. Be aware of what your partner and kids' beliefs are and the stories they're telling themselves. Are they aware of them? Would a conversation around that help? Things like, are they in fear of something? So we're working on this at the minute with my youngest because our dog died when my youngest was about 7 months. And around that time, I can't remember if it was just before or just after he died, my daughter was in the pushchair with her arms dangling down, and we went to see a friend and her new puppies. And I was on this side of the pram, and I didn't see on the other side of the pram all these little puppies jumping up, needle teeth, and they nibbled her fingers. And right after that, anytime she saw, I'm talking, not language, so it's amazing what they see and pick up on, but anytime after she would see a dog, it must have been after our dog died, because anytime after she saw a dog, she would literally shake with fear. Her hands would come up, her legs would come up, and obviously she can't communicate this fear, but she was in terrible fear of the dogs having that happen. So the story she must have been telling herself is dog equals fear, run away. So it gets put in there straight away. And even now, she's now coming up 5. It's not great because we never got a dog after that for one reason or another. We'd love to. So we're now she's obviously got comprehension and everything around it. We are now sort of trying to teach her a different story about dogs. That was a puppy, didn't know what it was doing, it happened a long time ago, it wasn't on a lead, I couldn't see you. And every time we see a dog that we think is child friendly or whatever, we will ask and say, and we're encouraging her to give it a stroke, and she does it, but then she'll go like weeks, months even without seeing another dog, and then we're back to square one again. So you can see the impact that experiences and your thoughts, which create the stories, can have on your family too. So being aware of the story that your kids or your partner are telling each other or telling themselves, you as the parent can help them to overcome that story and change it. And be curious about it. Is it really true? Back to the Byron Katie stuff. Is it really true, and can you move out of it? So yeah, I've just got here, to close, I would just say, your stories are running the show. Make them good ones. And now you're aware of your stories, how they can run the show and how to make changes to them, and if they aren't helpful to you and your family. So now you've got the tools to do that. I ask a question that you can put in the comments today. Your question of the day is, what impact do the stories you tell yourself have on your life and that of your family? Let me say that again. See, reading, here we go. I'm getting over the fear. What impact do the stories you tell yourself have on your life and that of your family? So answer that question in the comments, and I'd love to hear them. And let's get mindful about these stories. And if we are wanting to change our habits, our beliefs, our character, that's how we do it. We go right back to the thoughts and the experiences and the stories we tell in ourselves from way back when, and start to make inroads with these tools to change them up. So I hope that's helped. Thanks for watching. Much love. Bye for now.